Hello, magandang umaga. Can you hear me well?
Yes, ma'am. Sir Carlo, pa-transfer po ulit ng host.
Maingay ba yung background ko? Sorry, yung aircon kasi. Hello? Okay. I'm live now. Okay. Let me check. Medyo against the light. Malapit ako sa bintana. Wait, fine. Okay, I'm just adjusting my screen. Okay, ready to go? So, magandang araw po sa inyo and welcome po sa isa na namang episode ng online series ni Inang Pamantasan kung saan ang pagkatuto ay walang hangganan. Ito ang PNU Talks. Ako pala si Zyralie Bedural at ako ang inyong Learning from Home buddy sa episode na ito. Ngayong araw, ang topic natin ay Technology Integration in Social Studies. So if you have comments, mga katanungan, opinions tungkol sa episode ngayong araw, so i-comment nyo lang po sa comment box ng official page ng Philippine Normal University kung saan tayo live. At also, huwag kalimutang i-like at i-share ang episode natin. Okay? So, let's now move on to my presentation. Let me share my screen. Okay. Right. So, okay. So, again, my topic is on technology integration in social studies. And I will be presenting three major topics. One is technology integration, the why and the what. Why do we need to integrate, and what really is the meaning of technology integration? Okay, the second major topic is the frameworks on technology integration. So we will be discussing three major frameworks here. And the number three is integrating technologies in social studies teaching. Okay, so let's start with technology integration, the why. Okay, so you might have heard already about Industry 4.0 and Education 4.0. So these two are related. All right, so Industry 4.0, we are in this particular era now, wherein we live a very different life from the past. Okay, we have a very different technology, entertainment, right? The way we entertain ourselves from Facebook, right? From Netflix, okay? Ang ating connections, the social media. Before, it's very different. We have to go out to meet people, but now it's all online. Okay, even how we eat, you know, we just have to book our food via Grab Food or Food Panda, right? And it will be at our doorsteps. So how are these things in the Industry 4.0 related to Education 4.0? The Industry 4.0 is creating very different kinds of jobs. For example, data scientists, these data analysts, these things didn't exist before. These jobs didn't exist before. But because of Industry 4.0, we now have these jobs. And Education 4.0 correspondingly has to, the education in particular has to respond to these jobs, right? So, for example, there was an article that the highest paid before, it was probably 5 years ago or 4 years ago. They said that the sexiest job was the data scientist job, okay? And it's because it's the highest paid job. All right, so the education has to respond to the needs of these needs for jobs. Thus, the alignment between the industry requirements and education has to be very real, and the education really has to look into ways to align its delivery, its goals, delivery format, and everything to the needs of and requirements of Industry 4.0. So for example, industry, we have characteristics like flexible production line, online quality control, workers monitoring, automation, custom products. Like we have custom products, for example, phones, but we do have various phones depending. If you're a gamer, you get a different phone, okay? Similarly in education, we have a tailor-made learning path already. If you want to become a data scientist, you have a very different path compared with that of a data analyst, okay? And also, for example, the assessment. Usually the learning path for these types of jobs are capstone projects. You have to, project-based, like, and teachers are called mentors, not transmitters of knowledge, as like, just like in the 20th century. We are more of like, us teachers are more of like coaches now, okay, than teachers, okay, and also facilitators now. Education now has to respond to divergence and pluralism. Like, students need to develop a particular value of learning from the other people's perspectives, okay, and respect other people's views, right? So, and teachers has to learn, like, we have to do a lot of trainings to cope. This is what we call teacher training, the lifelong learning, and the like, you know. So another why, another reason for technology integration is that according to Edutopia and a lot of research studies, actually, they are saying that technology, when integrated into the curriculum, okay, revolutionizes the learning process, and students become or have better achievement and perform better when technology is used. All right, technology integration, the what? Okay. So again, quoting from Edutopia, technology integration is the use of technology resources like computers, mobile devices like smartphones and tablets, digital cameras, social media platforms and networks, software applications, and the internet, okay, in the daily classroom practices and in the management of a school. But, okay, we cannot define technology integration away from the issue of access and the perspective of who is using that technology, okay? In terms of access, do all students have the same kind of internet connectivity, the level of internet connectivity, the kind of devices that they use, the reliability of their gadgets, and is the technology a teacher-centered one or a student-centered one? Okay, so the effectiveness of technology integration has to bring in a lot of issues like this, not only the use of technology. I like this differentiation between the use of technology and the real technology integration. Okay, this is from Teach Bytes 2013, which was quoted by, which was presented in the website of the Teach Thought. Okay, you can Google it. I like this, and it says technology use or technology usage is random, arbitrary, and often an afterthought. Okay, whereas the real technology integration, um, technology here is planned. The usage of technology is planned and purposeful. Okay. Another is technology is rare or sporadically used in the classroom. Okay. Whereas technology in the real technology integration is a routine part of the classroom environment. Another is technology is used purely for the sake of using technology, and technology is used to support curricular goals and learning objectives. If you will read down, the use of technology versus the technology integration is a very different. Okay, and if we teachers would want to get the real technology integrate, the essence of technology integration, basically we have to look at the right column, that your technology has to be planned, to be purposeful. It has to be connected, of course, to your learning goals. And down the line, it has to be used by students, not the teacher-centered. It has to create a new kind of thinking, okay? It has to aid divergent kind of thinking, doing things differently. And it has to encourage higher, of course, higher order thinking skills. And it has to facilitate collaboration, okay? And um, it has to be able to make students do things that otherwise would have not been possible without the technology. So this is the kind of technology integration that we want. And with these statements, we can already kind of assess ourselves whether we are just using technology in our teaching or we are truly integrating technology. Okay. Now I move on to the next part of my topic, which is the common frameworks of technology integration. There are a lot more frameworks out there, but the common and the most used are the TPACK framework, the SAMR model developed by Puentedura, and the Triple E. The Triple E is it's the newer one. Okay. The TPACK framework was developed by Mishra and Kohler. Okay. Basically, it's just, for me, this is teacher-centered because it talks about the teacher's perspective. All right. It talks about the teacher's content knowledge, pedagogical content knowledge, and technology knowledge as the three major, the basic components of the framework. Okay. And the overlaps of these three, for example, pedagogical content knowledge, or the PCK, which is here. This is the PCK. Okay. Uses the knowledge of teacher on the content. Okay. And the particular pedagogy that the teacher would use to be able to deliver the learning goal. Okay. What is it different from? How is it different from the pedagogical knowledge? The pedagogical knowledge is basically the general processes and practices of, or the methods of teaching and learning. So the overlaps here, like technological content knowledge, how is this different? It talks about the content of the teacher and the knowledge of the teacher about technology. Okay, so if the teacher is knowledgeable enough of the technology and also the content, the teacher would basically know if the technology that he or she is using will impede or aid, or leverage the attainment of the learning goal, the learning goals. That is technological content knowledge. Technological pedagogical knowledge, okay. Here, technological pedagogical content knowledge. Okay, sorry, my example before is this, technological pedagogical content knowledge. Okay. Sorry. Tama yung kanina sinabi ko. This one, understanding of the new, how teaching and learning can change when particular technologies are used in particular ways. So this is how the kind of particular leverages that can occur because of a particular use of technology. For example, things that are not possible before, like using podcasts, like using or creating videos and receiving feedback from it if you post it in social media. Okay, these were not possible before, but it aids learning, okay, of the students. Okay, so the TPACK, sorry. Okay, the TPACK now is the middle. Okay, if the teacher is able to integrate all of these into a powerful teaching, okay, to make the teaching powerful enough, okay, the technology, the content, and the pedagogy, okay, this is where the true meaning of technology integration is achieved, right? So this is what the TPACK framework is all about. It's very teacher-centered, okay? The SAMR model is developed or was developed by Ruben Fuentedura. Okay, mali yung spelling ko dyan. But he developed it while he was a graduate student in the graduate school of Harvard, sometime in the 80s. Basically, he looked into how this technology, the technology would progress, or the use of technology can aid the teaching process, the teaching and learning process, and the progression that the teacher can have as he or she evolves into the teaching practice, right? So, for example, pwedeng first year of teaching, pwedeng substitution muna siya because the teacher is more concerned about the content, right? And as the teacher would evolve into the teaching practice, he would now use technology as augmentation. Okay, meron ng improvement. And then modification. Okay, yung task ng mga estudyante, meron ng redesign na. And redefinition, the teacher allows for creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. So, how do teachers know which level they're at in their teaching? Okay, if they use technology, and they ask about what will I gain by replacing the old technology with the new technology? Okay. It is substitution, right? The teacher is more into the substitution. If the teacher would ask about what are the improvement of the task process that could not be accomplished with the older technology at the fundamental level, and how does this feature contribute to my design of the learning? And then probably the teacher is already moving from the substitution to augmentation level. And then augmentation to modification. How is the original task being modified? How does this modification fundamentally depend on the new technology? And how does this modification contribute to my design? Okay, so modification to redefinition, the questions that can guide teachers are, what is the new task? Okay, will any portion of the original task be retained? How is the new task uniquely made possible by the new technology? And how does it contribute to my design? Basically, okay, the two, that's the two the first two levels are what we call the enhancement stage, where the teachers would enhance the task of the student based on functionalities, for example, their added value, okay? So the lesson will be enhanced by the use of technology, okay? Augmentation to, and then the modification here. The modification and redefinition, we are now transforming the task of the students, okay? There are now transformations that happen here, okay? So later on, I will give examples as to how these levels are actually applied, for example, in social studies. How do we know that it's substitution? Okay, it's how do we know that's augmentation, and modification, and redefinition? I will have some examples. So the SAMR model, we used the author actually had some integration with the Bloom's taxonomy, claiming that the substitution process and the substitution level and augmentation level are somehow or delivering the Bloom's taxonomy, the lower level, remembering, understanding, and apply, okay, the skills here. Okay, while the modification redefinition, if you use technology here, you are able to develop higher level thinking, higher level, yung HOTS, higher order thinking skills of students, like analyze, evaluate, and then create. Okay. There are some perspectives into how the apps, you may have seen this already, the iPadagogy. This is an example of the collection of iPad apps at different thinking levels of Bloom's taxonomy here. The remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Okay. And at what particular level of the SAMR model are these responding to? So here are just examples. For example, remembering and understanding, we have Facebook, okay? We have Google, if you want to extract information, the student wants that, online research. And then Keynote, like PowerPoint, or these are animation creation, okay? They previously can draw by their hands, now they can animate, okay? And so on and so forth, until creation. For example, the student would now be using GarageBand to create podcasts, all right, or iMovie to create a particular movie. All right, so I want to share with you now this is a result of my one of the results in my dissertation. My dissertation was I looked into the PCK competencies of social studies teachers, and technology integration is one of the variables that I looked into. And here I used the sequential. I used mixed methods. Okay. the sequential one, where I first gathered qualitative. So I gathered statements on how do teachers in social studies, what are their usual technology integration? How do they integrate technology? So these are the usual, based on my qualitative. These are the statements that they said, and I verified it using a survey. And out of 112, this is what emerged from the survey. So around more than a majority, actually, a majority of the teachers use PowerPoint presentation. Okay, a lot of them also ask, almost half, actually ask their students to watch videos together in class to enhance the understanding of a particular topic. And then they also evaluate online information. Um, and then they ask students to do online research. They do the virtual museum. Very, very few of them do that. Direct students to useful websites as supplementary learning resources. Okay, 1/4 of the students said they ask their students to do online, to go to online resources. And some also, a substantial number also utilize media and email to communicate with students. And around 20%, okay, they create videos and films to apply their lessons in Asian studies. And then they create infographics, okay, and promote these materials online, okay, to promote their initiatives and advocacies. And they engage in online discussions pertaining to issues in the country and Asia. Now, if we're going to use SAMR model here, okay, most of the teachers the level of technology integration of teachers are at the lower level, in the enhancement level, the substitution and augmentation. Okay, there are some modification. For example, the evaluating online information. Of course, if the evaluate is on the modification to redefinition, so I would be using modification here. Okay, because they can also evaluate it from the print, right? But because they get feedback as they evaluate, they can read the conversations, and then I would say it's modification. Okay, modification like creating videos to apply lessons in Asian studies, modification, and also creating infographics and to promote their initiatives and advocacies. Okay, I would say it can reach into redefinition. Okay, if their example, they begin to the students begin to interact with their audience. Okay, through their advocacies. Okay, but the task itself, I would say it's modification. Okay, so here we can see that it's not that bad. The social studies teachers now are very much aware of the technologies, of the need to integrate technologies, and we are leveling up. The developer of the SAMR model, si Dr. Vendetura, okay, also integrated pedagogy, the TPACK, to the teaching of to the SAMR model. Okay, how? Okay. He said that in the substitution level of the use of technology, either you don't integrate it to the whole. Okay, if you use substitution level, it's either used in pedagogy, the content, technology, and not very much integrated yet. Augmentation, okay. Okay, so you use it to you look in. Sorry, kanina sa substitution, Okay, so substitution, wala pang masyadong change. Okay, you will ask students to read online a particular story, for example. Okay, wala pang masyadong integration ng pedagogy content technology. Sa augmentation, medyo clear na kung ano yung tinatamaan. Okay, do you want the student to understand better the content? Okay, through the use of technology. And here, modification, there is now the specific, for example, the PCK. You choose now the particular technology based on the how it will aid in the understanding of the content. Okay, so more or less the teacher and the TPK, technology pedagogy pedagogical knowledge, technological pedagogical knowledge, where teachers would somehow know if the technology that's being used will aid learning, or somehow it will be very difficult for the use of the students. Okay, so and the TCK also will the students understand better the content. Okay, so if this modification is being done, it can be likened to nandito na siya sa level na yan, TCK, TPCK. Pag redefinition, okay, this is where the TPACK is achieved. That the true essence of the TPACK model is achieved in the redefinition level of the use of technology. Okay, if the students is now able to imagine other tasks, okay, than what you have required them, right? They were inspired to do something else, for example, an advocacy, or they would want to help a community, okay, and they recognize that using that particular technology will empower them better to do more, okay, and that is TPCK. The third model that I'm discussing is the EEE framework. Okay. It has three major elements. Okay. This EEE, by the way, was developed by Dr. Liz Kolb back in 2011, around that time. And this is a pragmatic way of looking at technology integration, because it has only three major elements: the engage, enhance, extend. But these all looked into the achievement of the learning goals. All right? So madali siyang sundan kasi you will have to assess if your learning goal, for example, for engage, you will ask if your technology allows student to focus on task or of the assignment or activity with less distraction. So for engage, if the technology is very distracting to students, students are not or cannot focus, maybe it's not a good technology to use in the first place. And if that's are students motivated to start the learning process? Okay, and does it have collaboration component? Or in this EEE, they always use the co-use or co-engagement, right? The second one is the enhance. Enhancement of the learning goal. Okay, what does it mean? Does the technology tool aid students in developing or demonstrating a more sophisticated understanding of the content? Kasi kung mas nahirapan siya dahil sa technology, it might not be a good technology to use after all. Does the technology create scaffolds to make it easier for to understand concepts or ideas? Or does the technology create paths for students to demonstrate their understanding of the learning goals in a way that they could not do with traditional tools? Okay, so basically, does it enhance learning? Okay, and does it enhance achievement of the learning goal? Extend the extend element is my favorite among the three because the engage and enhance you can already find in in some of the models. But this extend is, I think, very much useful for social studies teachers because um, it focuses on how the technology is able to relate students the learning that the goals of their lesson to their daily lives, to their real experiences. So this is the most authentic. That's why this is the most authentic model for me. Because, for example, it asks questions like, does the technology create opportunities for students to learn outside of their typical school day? And does the technology create a bridge between school learning and everyday life experiences? 3, does the technology allow students to build skills that they can use in their everyday life? Okay, so basically, it is very authentic in terms of making the students use technology in such a way that it's still real to their life experiences. Okay, so how should now how should we use technology, or how should we now use these technology integration models or frameworks in the teaching of social studies? So you may ask, so ang dami nun. So paano mo ngayon gagamitin yan? Okay. Ang sinasabi ni Puentedura na ang the integration of TPACK, for example, okay, is very important with the SAMR model. Okay, kapag ka gumamit ka ng technology, kailangan may PCK ka. You have, for example, if you're a history teacher, you know how history is organized. You know what are the major concepts that you are that your discipline for here it's history. What are the concepts that students need to learn? Okay, for example, the causality, chronology, multi-perspectives, contingency, empathy, the change and continuity over time, okay, influence, significance, impact, contrasting interpretations, and intent and motivation. So you all have this PCK, and you want, how will technology aid these kinds of understanding these concepts? Okay. All right, so let's do an example. It is also an example of the developer of the model. The substitution, for example, here's a basic, here iPad, the student is using an iPad, okay? The lesson is about this is a spinning wheel, the spinning Jenny, okay? And how, basically the assignment was get data and graph this. How does this compare with later trends, patents issued per year? So, okay, so a particular assignment is given to the student, but the student is really not doing so much with the reading because the student just shifted from reading on the physical book to the iPad, you know, so it's the same. So direct tool, the iPad here is used as just a substitute with no functional change, right? So gagawin niya pa rin niya yung task using nag-highlight pa rin siya, ganyan. So paano na-augment? Ayan. Nasa iPad pa rin yung bata, pero nakikita niya na yung timeline. So ayan, so kailan na may timeline na siya to understand the situation where this particular invention was situated within a timeline of the history, okay? How this event when this particular event occurred, okay? Now modification, this one I like. The modification was hindi lang yung examination ng technology na yon ang in the Industrial Revolution ang tinitingnan, but also other inventions and other events in the history along with that invention. So dito gumawa na ng tree map yung estudyante to analyze and evaluate the effects of Industrial Revolution. Okay, here the student using the timeline, the pictures, and the tree map that the student did, he's making the student's making like a podcast, okay, an audio using the iPad. So there is a progression, there is a complexity. Okay, we can look at the SAMR as, you know, there is a complexity of task that's in the as the learner, okay, as the learner achieve the intended learning goal, okay, of this particular task. So ayan, nakaabot na siya sa redefinition. Another example is the spatial thinking skills. Okay, geography. Okay, in geography, there are again concepts. Ang PCK niyan, pag teacher ka, alam mo kung ano ang gusto mong matutunan ng mga bata. For example, yung comparison. How are places similar or different? The aura, what is this place influence? Places influence on nearby places. Okay, region. Ano yung mga magkakatabi? How are they similar to each other? And what are the changes between the two places, like transition, okay? Hierarchy, how are the smaller areas related to the larger area? Analogy, the conditions of places, the patterns, the arrangement of a particular, of the arrangements within a map, okay? If these are houses, for example. Associations, okay, how are these patterns similar, different, and what are the effects of these, you know? Now, substitution, just a quick example. Substitution is if you're teaching geography, the substitution is you don't get a physical map, for example, of the province or municipality. Instead, you ask your students to go to Google Map, right? And locate whatever you want them to locate. And ayun. So, walang masyadong functionality doon. Now, the augmentation is the students is now able to interact with the map by adding place marks, by drawing a line, okay? And then, which of course is not possible by through the physical map that they have. Okay, and these are also sometimes if you use it, for example, in Google Map, you want to create you want to add your particular location so that you are searchable. That's augmentation. Okay? Students can do that now. Modification, if students would want to analyze, for example, variables, okay, and there's now a redesign in this, because in the physical map or the here the map, a Google Earth map, for example, these are made already, so you can only do so much with them. But if you want the students to analyze variables and map them, for example, here the life expectancy of birth, which countries have the higher life expectancy at birth and which have the low life expectancy at birth. Okay, here you can map the GDP, okay, the poor and rich countries. So, and from there, students can already analyze based on the aggregates or the heat maps on the heat maps. They can conclude, they can create conclusions, and they can evaluate. Okay, and so these tasks are not tasks are not possible with just using Google Earth. And there is now a redesign. The task now is being redesigned. Okay, so medyo in terms of complexity, mas mataas na rin siya. Redefinition is somehow it moves using these tasks, using, for example, the GIS or other tools that that allow students to use their spatial thinking skills. Okay, they were able to create valuable insights from these, and they were able to these tasks allowed them to, or made them imagine like how they will be able to use these skills to help communities, right? So this may be beyond what you are asking them to do, but they would want to do it anyway because they had that realization that the technologies are powerful enough for them to do more, you know, not only as students but as citizens. And I think that social studies, we need more of these. The technology that we use in class should aid them to think about being better citizens, okay, helping others, okay, and not only think about themselves. All right. I'm ending now my presentation here, but I will, because I will go to what I'm sharing to you is the I would like to take you to the triple E the triple E website. Okay. Again, may bias ako sa triple E dahil ayan. So, may bias ako sa triple E dahil I think this is very useful. This is a very useful tool for social studies teachers in assessing their technology integration. Kasi again the extent part is very suitable for social studies. So yung triple E framework, if you go to triple-E-framework.com, you will be able to see about the project, okay, the theories behind this framework, look into the details of what is engaged learning, all right, what is enhancement, and what is extension. Okay, what's good about this is that you can assess your own technology with the effectiveness of your own technology with the rubric that they developed. Okay, so for example, okay, I think I have it. All right. Just some examples of triple E, the triple E application in social studies. For example, the water conservation project. Okay, again, it's focused more on the learning goal. The learning goal was students will create public service announcements on the water crisis in Africa and the importance of water conservation. Okay, the tools here that the teacher is asking the students to use are GarageBand, Skype, and internet. Okay, so in this lesson, upper elementary students are learning about the water crisis in Africa and by video chatting with experts. And they will choose a particular topic related to water crisis, and they will research about it on the internet. Okay, and they have to do it in teams, okay, to support co-use and co-engagement. And then create a public announcement podcast that will be played on a local radio station. Okay, so this particular learning goal and the process of how to achieve the learning goal is can be evaluated in terms of how this particular task is meeting the engagement, enhancement, and extension elements of the triple E. So for the engagement, students are working in teams, co-use, so the element of co-use and social are there. The technology, being used are, of course, video chat, audio editing software like the GarageBand, and research websites. All focus on the task at hand and with good instructional strategies can keep the students focused on the end goal. So, alam na nila kung ano yung goal nila. The goal nila is to create a public announcement, diba, on the water crisis in Africa and the importance of water conservation. These are just the tools, okay, on how to arrive at that particular end, okay, the end goal for that lesson. The enhancement now is that they have to connect with real life experts, okay, for them to have information, the real-time information, okay. They can either log into the internet and ask experts on the internet, okay, and also they can publish this work via podcasts, through podcasts, to reach a wider audience. So may enhancement note. Hindi lang mga kaklase nila ang makakarinig, hindi lang teacher, na at the end of the lesson ipapasa nila. But the enhancement there is really they are able to connect with a wider audience. And they hear it from the real experts. So, extension, the technology allows the students to connect with experts, okay, authentic, as well as publish their work on the radio, on the local radio station. So they can get feedback from here, from the communities, all right? And usually podcasts now, these are shareable. You can monitor the number of shares, so you know how effective or how well received your project is, right? So you're able to reach quite a number of people. So for social studies, I find it really helpful that you're able to define how your technology is extending, okay, towards the achievement of the learning goal. Okay, so there are a lot more examples here. You can just look. Okay, so if I, okay. So, ginawa ko to kanina. I use this as to gauge my own, to evaluate my own lesson. So, I went to Melk. Ano ako kanina. I wanted to look into if I were to adapt a particular technology, what will be the rating of that? So gumawa din sila ng rubric, okay? For you to know the kind of result that you have, the kind of technology, if it's engaging, if it's enhancing, and if it is extending the learning goal, right? So medyo ano siya, ang ano niya is US based, so my state, my county, pero you can still use it. Just pick any. So, okay, I have here, yan. Okay, my example here for all of you is, for example, I'm now looking at the MELCs, the most essential learning competencies, newly developed by DepEd. Okay, so hindi naman siya masyadong naiiba doon sa original curriculum. Basically, stream down lang. Okay. Ngayon, halimbawa gusto ko tong topic na to, or I'm about to discuss this topic. Ang competency ng mga bata na ipapaliwanag ang konsepto ng Asya tungo sa paghahating geograpiko. So silangang Asya, Timog Silangang Asya. Timog Asya, Kanlurang Asya, Hilagang Asya, at Hilaga o Gitnang Asya. Ngayon, maybe I will ask them to look into the maps on the internet that looks into this regional, yung geographic, yan, yung the Asian map, okay, that has these regional divisions, or okay, hindi pa siya naglo-load. Ayan, so Asian regions map, okay. So you may ask the students to look into this and see what are the countries that are included per regional per region in this map. Okay, Central Asia. What are these, right? Okay, there are other maps. For example, here in the National Geographic, you can use this too. Okay, and then you can now look into the similarities, differences, all the geographic concepts that you want to. So definitely embedded naman yan sa inyong lesson. So yung mga nagtuturo alam na yan. But the point here is that how is your technology going to aid? Ito, mga ano lang to, mga for them to know already, okay, medyo deep na to sa content na sa lesson, okay. Gusto ko, halimbawa, gusto mo na tingnan yung engagement nila, gusto sa engage, pero okay, I have this maganda tong binigay, maganda tong I found this sorry, yung game, merong game kasi na students are able to play a game based on the, yan, ito. Okay. Okay. So, kung remote kayo, bigyan niyo tong link na to para ma-engage yung mga estudyante. So, para ma-motivate lang sila muna. Okay. Play a quiz. Okay. So, this is Asia. And I would like to gusto mong makita yung kanilang knowledge lang, no? So, mag-play ka, titingnan mo lang yung kung nasaan ang Malaysia. Right? So, ayan, sorry, mali ako. Mali agad ako. So, hindi kasi ako nagtuturo ng geography. Ayan, Singapore, ayan. So, nasaan ba siya? Sorry. It will reveal that I'm very poor geography. So, yan. So, Japan. Ano ba yung Japan dito? Nakalimutan ko na. Ayun pala. Sorry, naka-live pa naman to. Pasensyahan nyo na. Ngayon ko lang to nilalaro. Ayan. Okay. So, Timor-Leste. Alam ko, etong part na to eh. Yun ba yun? Yung sa may Indonesia. Ba't ayaw niya? Basta somewhere here. This is Indonesia. Ayan. Ayan o, Timor-Leste. Ayaw niya kanina. Ayan. Basta yan, hindi ko siya mapindot dahil Timor-Leste. Ano pa? Ayan, North Korea. Alam ko to kung nasaan. Lagi ako nanonood ng Korean novela. Ayan. Doon tayo. Yay! Okay. Nepal, yan. Mapapahiya lang ako pagka pinay ko ba ng So, yan. Somewhere there ang Vietnam. Okay. Cambodia, Indonesia. Ayan. Familiar ako dyan Indonesia. Russia. Yay! Here. Okay. Maldives. Yan. So, ayan. So, you see, the purpose of this is for students to really know how much they know about Asia. Okay, you can have this in their you can use this as motivation or a formative assessment tool. Okay, so does it enhance? So, for example, I want to be able to use this technology to assess whether this technology will be delivering the learning goal. Okay, I will go back to asan na yon? Yung yan. Ito. I will go back to this EEE measurement tool. Okay. So sabihin natin, you can generate this. Siguro baka pumapasok to sa kanilang pero it doesn't matter. Sige, sabihin natin taga Iowa tayo. Ayan. Hindi ko alam mga Benton County. Yan. Tingnan natin. Hindi ko alam kung nasaan yan. Pero, so, i-assess natin yung ano na yun, yung use ng technology na to. Yung interactive map ng Asia. I think there are 9 statements here. So, engagement, the question one for engagement, again, engage, ano po to? Enhance and extend, right? So engage, does the technology tool help students focus on the learning goals with less distractions? O, di ba? Alam na natin ang sagot dahil ang dami niyang ads kanina, di ba? So yes, nakaka-focus ako na aaliw ang estudyante, pero there are distractions. So let's say somewhat. Engagement, does the technology tool help to motivate students to begin their learning processes? If I use that as motivation, absolutely. Okay, does the technology cause a shift in behavior of the students where they move from passive to active social learners? Co-use. This one can be done kahit walang classmate, di ba? Kahit sa bahay siya. Pero it can also be done kung ang instruction mo, you can enhance it by say, maglaro kayo ng kapatid mo, okay? Using this app, okay? O kaya mag-contest kayo. So you can still the technology itself is not encouraging co-use, but you can devise it in such a way that it will have co-use or co-engagement. Enhancement. Does the technology tool aid students in developing or demonstrating a more sophisticated understanding of the content? Somewhat, yes, I would say. Kasi kung halimbawa, of course, you would know the location already, right, of a particular country within Asia. If you use that in the location, okay, and you use the geographic divisions of Asian regions, alam mo yung similarities, na ituro mo yung similarities ng mga countries na yon in that region, more or less, the student would know where to locate that, right? Kung which part of the Asia. Hindi man yung tamang-tama, pero alam niya, may mental map na siya. Does the technology create scaffolds to make it easier to understand concepts or ideas? Of course, okay? So, yes, absolutely. Does the technology create paths for students to demonstrate their understanding of the learning goals in a way that they could not do with traditional tools? Somewhat, kasi pwede mo din naman siyang gawin. Pwede ka mag-drawing ng map, diba? So, yon, talagang dati sa nung panahon ko, drawing lang talaga kami. You will be graded by how accurate your map is, no? Does the technology create opportunities for students to learn outside of their typical school day? Well, yes, not at all, but kung sa bahay to, pwede na nating gawin, pero I would say that somewhat na lang, somewhat. Pero to not at all. Parang kasi 'di ba, parang well, dahil interactive siya, sige. Somewhat na lang. Okay. Does the technology create bridge between school learning and their everyday life experiences? Not at all, kasi parang hindi pa naman sila pwedeng, the map itself does not give them the experience of Asia, di ba? But you can level up to somewhat if, for example, the use of the map will be extended to, for example, kung hindi naman delikado, sa mga bata, like they talk to a Singaporean online, they reach them via they introduce, for example, themselves, and they talk about the culture of the people there, and then it will definitely create the experience, the everyday life experiences, okay, of the student. So, dahil aware na siya sa kultura noon and na-develop na yung respect for other cultures, for example, does the technology allow students to build skills that they can use in their everyday life? Definitely, okay? So mapping skill is very, very important. Okay, so for example, that's just your self-evaluation. It can be any, depending on you. That's just mine. Okay, you can be more conservative. You can be like me. I'm very generous with my evaluation. So yeah, I got 12 over 18. So almost 70%. Yeah, almost 67%. It is if I have 12/8, nandito ako, yellow light pa rin ako. So, meron pa rin akong enhancement na kailangan. So, here, by meeting at least 2 levels, there is a strong connection between technology tools and the students' take up of the learning goals. So, meaning, na-address ng technology tools na yon, yung learning goal mo. Okay? However, it is not usually meeting both components at all the highest options. So, meaning hindi pa sapat. Okay? While there is a connection between technology and learning goals, educators should take time to evaluate the lessons and technology choices and instructional moves to make certain that technology enhances and or extends the learning goals in some significant way. So, again, this may be an opportunity to add some more instructional moves into the lesson to better leverage the technology for student learning. So, the technology itself can be used in various ways. Okay? So, doon na papasok yung PCK. Ano ba yung gusto mo talagang palabasin, matutunan ng bata? Okay? Based on learning goal mo and doon sa paano niya matututunan. Okay? So, yeah, that's about it. So, you can basically, prior to the delivery, in your lesson plan pa lang, you can already check the effectiveness of the learning tool. May way ka na to self-check whether that the technology will be delivering or leveraging your learning goal. Okay, so that is how that is the EEE framework. Okay, so I will now and stop share. Okay, so thank you. So that's now my presentation. If may comment po kayo, tatry ko po sagutin doon sa comment box. Lagay niyo lang po. So, ako po ay nagagalak na makapag-share sa inyo today on technology integration in social studies. As you will notice, these technology frameworks can be used in any other disciplines, not only in social studies. So I just contextualized this in social studies. Okay? So again po, maraming salamat. That ends my talk for this morning. Ako po ulit si Zyralie Bedural. At sumainyo ang PNU Talks. Magandang umaga po muli.